Yeah, good.
We're back for part 3, and we're starting with Raeven. Yay!
Yay. Okay. Let's see. So I didn't have time to go through and put pictures in, so I don't have very many pictures, but
Who
I do have.
cares?
But you have to let me share my screen.
Oh, sorry, as usual. Wah, wah. All participants, go ahead.
Okay, cool.
You know what else? There's this other weird thing that's happening recently that I'm like, has happened, and I'm just going to talk about it right now. I
Yeah.
don't know why I'm talking about it right now because it's totally going to insert on your time, but I am going to.
Okay. Okay.
So, just because I made some weird quirky noise. So there's like this whole like there's this girl on one of these like reality shows that is like some friend of the cast that is really super quirky, and people keep making fun of her even though there's like some like discussion that she might have autism or that there's something really like that because she does things like I do, like makes weird noises or like doesn't make eye contact or like sits strange or like moves her hands in weird ways, or and so they're making fun of her about it. And then also my niece recently has been involved in a situation where people are making fun. I've learned recently that online there is a forum where the middle schoolers in my community, the middle school in my community, the kids have used the middle school logo and have created many online accounts on Instagram to bully and make fun of people with disabilities and make fun of like people for all sorts of things. They say things about people who are even, I'm sure none of these people are homosexual, and why you would make fun of somebody if they were homosexual, anybody anyway, is beyond me. But these kids are calling these other kids like repulsive names that berate homosexuals, and they're calling them like autistic and smelly and all this stuff, and it's online and nobody is doing anything about it. And I just want to say that during this time, that like if you are making fun of people that are unusual or unique or quirky and you're making fun of their disability, you got a fucking problem. Like you got to look inside yourself. You got a fucking problem. So whoever's making fun of people like that are different or unique or like that's like it's just like unbelievable to me. Like I just want to say that because it's been like it just keeps coming in front of me, I feel like. And first like I made some quirky noise and I was like, oh yeah, that like made me that like drilled in that I like it was very important that I say that on like a forum. And I also wanted to share with you that that's going on. It's like a big deal. We're going to go and talk to the Vista School Board tomorrow, I think.
You guys should, I don't know if, I mean, you should, first of all, but I'm surprised nobody has contacted the social media to get it removed.
Oh, you don't think we have? I report that okay, there was a video of a 12-year-old getting the shit beaten out of at school after she had been called a whore repeatedly on this online forum. Okay, then the Instagram posts this little child being beaten up, she traumatized and hurt, and she was sent to the hospital even. And she was that's not my niece, but it was somebody that we all know. And you know what, it's a horrible thing that's happening in Vista Unified. They need to get a freaking handle on this bullying stuff, because it's not only could the children that are being made fun of take it to heart and be very sad, and it could like influence their well-being and maybe increase suicidality, not only in that arena, but also that it's filtering into the real life environment. Like people are physically going to the hospital now.
Yeah.
So it's fucked up. It's fucked up.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I don't
Sorry.
know how those kids need to be taken out of school. They need
You
to be
think?
like,
And you can
expelled.
find them easy. We found all their names. We have screenshots of all the kids' names who said all the comments. But do you think that even though you sign an agreement that says, what's it called? You sign an agreement in the beginning that says that you're gonna here, now we're back on my laptop. Right, hi. Okay, that you are going to not cyberbully. Like at the beginning, you sign that says you're not going to cyberbully.
Yeah.
Like everybody does. It's part of that packet, right? Like everybody signs the packet that we're like, if you cyberbully, that's grounds for suspension and expulsion and everything else. They're using the logo of the middle school, like the actual logo.
Yeah.
Instagram, take it down.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's ridiculous.
It is. Anyway, sorry to rant. I ranted. Sorry, I took over. Off my pedestal. Let me step back down. Okay. I need to take a drink of my water.
Okay. So, we are going to start with Mugwort.
Ooh.
Little Artemisia.
Ooh, Vulgaris.
Right. So, Mugwort is actually, there are other species, but by far the most common is the vulgaris, so Artemisia vulgaris. So the parts used typically are the aerial plants. There's quite a bit of folk names. We have cronewort, witch herb, old man, old Uncle Harry, Artemis herb, muggins, sailor's tobacco, apple pie, mugger, smotherwort, felon herb, St. John's plant, Cingulum sancti, Joannis, mother's wort, maidenwort, and muggins. Oh, is muggins on there twice?
Maybe.
Oh, mug-ons and then muggins.
Muggins, exactly.
Okay, so there's a couple theories floating around about why it's named what it is, but the most common theory is that it's named after Artemis, the Greek moon goddess, who is known as just like a patronage of women in all phases of their life. So especially in the realm of like the triple goddess. So like the onset of menstruation, in childbirth, and then during menopause, which is the triple goddess as we know her. Now, I don't really have any like stories of lore, but we're going to talk about like some ways that it was used basically. So it's traditionally been held or it's had like a powerful affiliation with like the moon and considered an all around like women's herb. And then herbalist Matthew Wood says that mugwort will restore the injured female nature, which can be a bit negative, can come off a bit like anti-women, but I like to think of it as an injured female nature, meaning like a woman who society has kind of beat her down and forgets that she's like a badass. So that it's like to bring back like that fierceness, that like powerful femininity.
It is rad. Mugwort is rad, and it's rad.
Yeah. So Judith Berger says that the regular use of mugworts can strengthen our ability to absorb intuitive information and preserving an aspect of like sharpness and our interaction with like the world. So basically it's like letting us still hold on to the realm of like this world, but also coming like letting information come in like intuition wise and feeling that intuition. So historically, it was placed by the door of the local witch, healer, or midwife.
At my door.
So it's earned the title Mother of Herbs because of its treatment of pretty much all like female disorders, but especially female reproductive disorders, things like regulating menstrual cycles, and yeah, just anything to deal with like women's reproduction. It's also sometimes called the old woman, because it's believed that it is the embodiment of ancestral wisdom, specifically female ancestral wisdom, or like more feminine ancestral wisdom. So in shamanic cultures, it was used to facilitate communication with ancestors and like the spirit world in general. People often drink it as like an infusion or a tea or a tonic at bedtime because it is really heavily associated with dreams. So you can ingest it before bed, but you can also like make a sachet or something like to put under your pillow or under your bed to induce lucid dreams. Lucid dreams or like um intuitive, like subconscious dreams as well. So in medieval times, it was believed to, or so let's see. In medieval times, this story came about that it was passed from Artemis, the pagan goddess, to the Christian Saint John the Baptist. So she allegedly like gave it to him, and then he carried it into the wilderness to help him ward off evil. So this is where the term St. John's girdle came from, and it's because like St. John was believed to wear a girdle that was stuffed with mugwort, and then he would like dance around the fire. Now we have made very clear how we feel about men in our herbs, in our deity communication. So
And the St.
um,
John's nonsense, and it's this co-opting of Midsummer,
yeah,
and it's just a load of horse shit is what it is. It's like,
yeah,
and it takes over St. John's wort, because the only day that St. John's wort blooms is right around Midsummer, and
yeah,
that he took Midsummer, so now he took my herb. So
yeah.
no, 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 he
I
can
know.
go shove it
I
up his butt. Nope.
uh it's a pretty, a lot of places I found were talking about this. So I
Uh-huh.
wanted to put it in and not just ignore it. But I think
Thanks
that
for letting us know.
yeah, I also think that the belief of a, let's see, how do I say this without offending? The belief of a pagan deity passing anything really onto a like Judeo-Christian being does not sit right with me, because they were the ones who persecuted the pagans and there was a lot of bad blood there. And yeah, it's just, it's a whole thing, so I don't like it.
And then the bad blood was just, that's what I mean. So much more the richer when then the co-opting party comes and sweeps through and takes all your
Yeah,
special rituals and holidays and sabbats and
yeah,
turns them into like high holy days of
bastardized.
Christian, of
Yeah,
Christmas, Easter, and Midsummer and
yeah,
St. John's Day. It's
yeah,
freaking loads of horseshit.
yeah. It's kind of like I see it as along the same lines of Thanksgiving, where this idea of like the pilgrims and the Indians sitting down for a nice dinner and like exchanging, it's like that's not what fucking happened. Okay. Like the native people were like raped and murdered and stolen. Like it wasn't just this pleasant dinner. And so, yeah, just like,
And in fact,
anyways.
the first group that came there disappeared, like the Roanoke villagers. So
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
wasn't so nice,
It wasn't
actually.
so nice.
The
Yeah.
first like little group of them kind of, there's a disappearance of sorts. And so
Yeah. Yeah. So, anyways, Um, okay, so traditionally worn on Midsummer's Eve as a garland, and then dancing around the fire, which is where this idea of like John the Baptist doing it comes from. But then, so you wear it, you dance around the fire, and then afterwards you throw it into the fire. And because you wore it dancing around the fire, it's supposed to be like imbued with your energy. And so then you toss it into the fire to like protect you from sickness and danger. And also an interesting association is very similar to elder, in that both elder and mugwort were used originally to protect against witches, and now has become like patron like plants of witches. uh,
you can't. That's so silly. Using a plant against a witch is ridiculous. That's
yeah,
like, it's not
yeah,
even real.
yeah.
It's
It's the same idea with hagstones. Like hagstones are stones that have like beach water stones that have holes all the way through them.
Yeah.
And it was believed that you could like wear them to protect you from witches, but like now witches use them to like see through alternate like dimensions and stuff. So okay, so then we have the Germanic lore, which says that there's actually a rare coal that can be found under mugwort, but you can only get it, like it's only there if you dig under mugwort on noon on Midsummer's Day. And then it's believed that you can like find this coal. And if you take that coal and put it under your pillow, then it will bring dreams about future husband, which a lot of these things are about like finding your mate and your partner and stuff.
It was a very
But it's
important thing.
I guess, yeah. And so then it's also believed that that coal can is a protection against evil, and that if you keep it for long enough, it can become gold.
Hmm.
Hmm. So Mugwort was highly used by the Anglo Saxons and can be seen in the Lacunga, which is this right here. And this is a medical text and like prayers. That means remedies. And so the quote is, "Eldest of warts, thou hast might for thee, and against 30 for venom, avilist, for flying vile things, might against loathed ones that through the land rove." Essentially, like protection against like snakes and spiders and all of like the creepy
Yes.
crawly animals.
So fucking wordy, those
I know.
shows are really English. They're like, we
Old
got a lot
English
of
is just a
marble
pain.
now.
So then I also have a tale. So Russian folklore says that there was a young girl who was gathering mushrooms in the forest, and she fell into a very deep pit. And this pit was the home of a ton of snakes. So the snakes found her. They didn't harm her, and they actually took care of her and protected her and brought her like food and stuff. And so the during this time, her and the snakes got a lot of nourishment from this like magical glowing stone. And then once winter was over and spring arrived, the snakes formed a ladder with their bodies, and so then the girl could climb out. And the serpent queen taught her, so they, because they like got along and they became friends, the serpent queen taught her the language of the plants, but said that if she ever called mugwort by its name, that she would immediately forget the language of the plants. And so then a long time afterwards, when she was an old crone lady, she was walking with her lover, and he pointed to a plant and he asked her, "What's the name of this plant?" And she didn't think about it and said mugwort, and then she immediately forgot the language.
Oh,
So the a lot of Russians know mugwort as the herb of forgetfulness because of that.
wow.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get a drink. Stay right
Okay.
here. Not an alcoholic drink. I'm gonna get a drink. So you can go on. I can hear you in my kitchen, even though you can't see me.
Okay. So then we just have medicinal properties. So antibacterial, antifungal, stomachic, colic, anti-neoplastic, which means inhibiting the growth of cancer cells, and a mild sedative. So we know that the action on the body is like warming and stimulating, and so because of that, it helps increase circulation, and remove stagnant blood, which is also a tie to your, I can't remember which one we were talking about the blood flow with. I can't remember, but anyways, and so this is one of the reasons why it's good to use for menstrual cycle, especially if you're trying to bring on the blood of the menstrual cycle. Also, as such, it should not be used by pregnant women, because it's not technically considered an abortifacient, but it does have abortifacient qualities. So some authors mention that it can be used to ease tremor associated with Parkinson's, to ease epileptic fits, and to help like calm the nerves as a nervine, potentially help relieve insomnia. Although it is important to know that mugwort, because it's associated with dreams, if you take it right before bed, it can have an effect on dreams, and there can be some interesting dreams. And then it's a digestive herb, but it's also used in the treatment of like cramping and, like I said earlier, spasmodic complaints, especially with menstrual cramps and any type of like stomach cramps, like relating to the digestive system. So, because of its stimulating properties, mugwort is known to increase vivid dreams again and create or promote creative meditation. So I said this earlier, but drinking a cup of mugwort tea or infusion before bed can have an effect on some dreams. Some people don't really notice an effect very much, but some people do notice just like more interesting dreams, shall we say, or people who don't typically dream might start seeing that they dream.
Mm.
Also, just like as a side note, everybody dreams. Everybody dreams. It's just if you go into REM sleep, you dream. It's just, do you remember your dreams when you wake up is the problem.
So another thing about marijuana or cannabis is
Mhm.
that it provides dream forgetfulness actually. Uh,
100%.
yeah. So if you are a person that's suffering from PTSD and you struggle with horrible dreams or
Mm,
like night terrors,
mm,
um, it can be wonderful.
yeah.
So.
Oh, also something I didn't say about cannabis is for you talked about how most people see it as like a pain reliever, but
Oh yeah, yeah. You
I do
have an
not.
opposite.
Yes, some people, it's a pretty small amount of people according to studies, but I'm one of those people. It is the opposite. It really intensifies the pain. And again, it's like for anybody watching, it's a very small, it seems to be a very small proportion of people, but it does something
It is.
to like the like our proprioceptors and like things like that where it just really intensifies the pain. So if you have like cramps or a headache or like a broken arm that is still hurting or something, some type of pain, it could make the pain worse. But yeah.
Well, also there's this other thing for a small number of people that I did want to mention that you brought up now that you brought that up, but
Mm.
where like and it can happen at any time where cannabis can create a situation where it makes you actually nauseous.
Mm.
And then once it's like clicked that way, it doesn't go back. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like one of those things. Like it's called there's an actual name for that disorder. And
Mm.
sometimes you actually have to go into like the hospital for it. It's
Yeah.
chemo, some I don't know. Anyway, so
Mm.
take care.
Okay. So, it can be used, mugwort can be used to like help integrate psychic awareness. I tend to more so refer to like intuition. So we kind of hinted at this earlier, but I think that it really helps strengthen your intuition and not just strengthen it, but also help you to follow through with your intuition. I think a lot of people have intuition and just kind of like put it to the side and don't think about it, but
Mhm.
it's supposed to help you like follow through with it as well as like connect to it more. It can be used to help people to connect with their warrior selves. This is kind of what I was talking about earlier of like the strong, like feminine empowerment. Um, and let's see. Oh yeah, Matthew Wood has a great deal to say about mugwort, including that it's used to enhance the feminine instincts of creativity, intuition, art, and dreams. I think that was it. Oh,
Yep.
no, there's more. Okay. Um, Oh yeah, prophecy, divination. Divination we haven't really talked about, but that's associated with like intuition, I would say. And so burning it as like a loose incense can help with dreams. It can also help with any type of like magical workings. We like to use it in our ritual practices. It can be used as like a ritual bath. If you can't burn things, if you have like some reason why smoke is not good for you, or if you just in a place where you can't really burn a lot. I can't really burn incense because it like affects my partner in a very negative way. He doesn't like it. So so you can use it in like ritual baths or yeah, you can make like an infusion of it. If you're not a bath person, I've talked about this before, but you can make an infusion with it, let the water cool, and then like pour it over yourself in the shower too. I really like doing that. And then you can also use it to like cleanse things like crystal balls, blackened mirrors, scrying bowls, things like that. What else? Oh yeah, so it's kind of all the same idea, but like you can help it to remove like blocked creativity. And what else? Yeah, astral projection, dream work, protection in general. I don't really know if I see it as an herb of protection per se. I think that it can maybe help you strengthen yourself so that you can deal with shit, but not as like a cloak of
Yeah,
protection, I
I
would say.
agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, cool. So I didn't really find a lot of associations. So planetary, the moon, and Venus. I also saw one place that said Neptune, which I kind of like actually. And then deities, there's kind of a lot. So Artemis, Chandra, Diana, Hecate, crone goddesses in general, things like Caradwin, and then moon goddesses like Arnrod, which I never heard of.
Arian?
Arionrod?
I don't know. How do you say that?
I don't know either. Okay, so then
We
next,
struggle. We need you know what? We would benefit by like a translator. Like that's like a good like that's the thing. My son said that computers are really cheap right now. He's building them for his friends like crazy
yeah.
because the next wave is going to have built-in AI.
Mm,
So that you can so that all those things will be intuitive. We'll be talking and we'll say, "Computer, please check the pronunciation of this word that's on my
yeah.
screen right now." Which
Yeah.
one are you looking at? I'm looking at the one that started.
I will tell you that AI is making my job an absolute fucking nightmare
I bet
because
it is. I
students
bet
aren't
you're
doing their
screwed.
work now. Like I really think that AI is going to make people, this is going to sound terrible, but like less, they're it's going to make people learn less because now students aren't going to have to write, they don't have to write their own essays, they don't have to like answer their own exam questions. And I think that even if we're not looking at it from a test perspective, because that's, up for debate, but even if we're looking at just like understanding the material, school in general for a very long time has been like you just are understanding the material, and then tests are supposed to be like, it's not about in my opinion, tests should not be about memorization. You shouldn't have to memorize things, but it should be about understanding. Show me that you understand this concept, even if you don't remember the exact phrasing of the concept. But now students don't even have to do that because there's just like, they don't, all the class activities can be AI generated, the tests, the quizzes can be AI generated, the papers can be AI generated. And so I think that it's really going to do higher education a disservice. And yeah, it's going to be problematic.
I can see how it can be problematic, but I also think that once you play around with AI, you realize that it doesn't do what you think it does. It's
Well,
not
sure. I mean, it's not
it
like
doesn't do what you
sentient.
think it doesn't, but I like struggled to make it do anything but give me really new ways to look at things that I can then process further. Like I never see AI as like an end result. And AI is like a lead generator. It's like a generator of ideas or concepts or thoughts that might propel me in a different direction. Or
Mm-hmm.
in like I can say, give me 5 ideas for the name of something, and it will, and I won't pick any of those, but I'll pick like something that like maybe combines two of them and adds some other word, and but it will give me like thought processes towards it. Like I think like people are gonna see really quick like what you butt your head up against for AI. Like
I mean, I think that's fair, but I also think it's very easy for me to say, okay, to show me that you understand this specific concept, write 2 paragraphs on it showing me you understand. And you can type that into AI and it will regurgitate like the concept. So
it
somebody can
will.
use it as a tool for sure, but I don't think most students are going to use it as a tool to foster their learning. I think they're going to use it as a tool to replace the learning.
Learning. That's unfortunate. Well, I guess you'll really have to want to learn whatever you want to learn.
Yeah. But then the problem becomes students are going to get these degrees without having learned a lot of things. And then they're going to go into the workforce, and
Yeah.
the workforce is going to assume that they're prepared when they're not. And it's going to create a lot of problem, I think.
I wonder how like a more European model of teaching is impacted by AI. Like I
Mm.
know our model is very impacted, but I think European models of teaching are a lot different than ours. They don't
Well,
emphasize homework or tests. So they understand they don't even test generally. They don't test at all.
well,
Like they
that's what I'm
test like
saying too, is like we can go Socratic method, where the Socratic method of schooling is like, I'm going to tell you about this concept and then you and I will have a discussion about it, right? Like that's the idea.
yeah.
But a lot of schools, at least here in America, the discussions, this classrooms are too big to have discussions with students. The Socratic method really, it does really well in like a 10-person classroom, but that just isn't feasible. I don't know how the European school system is, but if you have more than like 10 students in a classroom, you can't really use the Socratic method of like, let's have a discussion and that's how you'll show me your knowledge, which I think is the best teaching strategy. But you just can't do it in a class of 30, 40, 50 people. It's just impossible.
Well,
So,
you do. I mean, we that's how we did law school. All my law school classes were taught the Socratic method. They were taught where like everybody in class was up for grabs to who would have to be the one to answer all the questions that day. And so you had to know the material
mm,
and learn it because you could be the one picked from the hat that day. And
I,
then they
yeah,
stood up in the classroom and then they asked you, the teacher and you had a conversation about the cases. And they may pick one or two people per class, and you never know who it was that was going to.
that's how we did it in grad school too.
Yeah.
But in grad school, our classes were 10 people. And I think that's why it works. I think if you have a big class and only
We had
one or two
hundreds.
people are
We had maybe like 90, probably probably my biggest class was maybe a little over 100.
so I imagine then that it's probably pretty easy. I mean, the odds of you getting called on that day are pretty low, right? It's like what, 1 in 10 then? Or if you had 90 people and two people were called, it's like 1 in what, 45 chance that you're going to get caught. And so I think it would be probably pretty easy to fall under like the radar, I guess. The Socratic method is like everybody's having a discussion every day, and that's how we're fostering learning, is because you don't read, you're not in grad school, we learned by
Yeah.
like reading articles. You
Yeah.
don't do that. It's Socratic method is like you're not reading, there's no note
Yeah,
taking,
you're
you're
just like
purely having
exactly. You're just like having
discussion. Yeah.
yeah, piecing
So
out, like teasing out the things from the
yeah, exactly. And I think, yeah. So, anyways, I think that that's the best way to learn, but you just can't do that in a class, a large class. And so, I don't know. It's just problematic. Anyways,
I know,
getting back on track. So,
exactly.
Blue Lotus flower.
Blue Lotus.
Blue Lotus.
Wonderful.
Okay, so botanical name is Nymphaea Nouchali. Although the caerulea is a variety. Now, it from what I have found, it's kind of hard to sparse these two out. They share a lot of commonalities, and even on in a lot of the herbal books, even like Wikipedia, because I was trying to figure out the difference between the two, and like Wikipedia lists them the same. It lists it exactly like this. Like this is the botanical name with this part as a variety. And so a lot of places it's hard to sparse them out. Um, but typically it's going to be the Nouchali. So the parts used are the flower. Folk names are blue Egyptian lotus, blue water lily, and sacred blue lily. Those are the only real ones that I found.
I have trouble like finding the real thing. Like it's like I always go back and say, is this really real? Like I don't know what if this is.
Yeah, and I think that's why the us using the like botanical or Latin name is beneficial, because then you can kind of see, like if you go to an herb shop
What
and
I
they're
do.
like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
this is blue lotus, you're like, okay, what's the Latin name? Because
Let me
sometimes it's listed.
exactly. You're like, I don't think this
Yeah.
is what I think it is.
Yeah.
What you think it is.
Okay, so it used to be very abundant in Temple Lakes along the Nile River, and it was really highly sought after, which wasn't a problem because it was so abundant. It was like all along the lakes and stuff. So in ancient Egypt, blue lotus can be seen embossed on a lot of things. So we see it in on thrones, we see it on like drinking chalices that are made from calcite. We see it on papyrus. We see see it on stone carvings, we see it in paintings, we see it on the temple walls of Karnak. So we see it kind of just like everywhere. It was used ceremoniously, but also blended into like cosmetics and perfume. So you grind it, dry it, grind it, and then use that blue as powder, like for eyeshadow and stuff. It was also used as like an elixir or a tea or an infusion. And you can also just like inhale it for relaxing. Now you can like burn it and like inhale the steam, but it was mostly just like you scoop up some of the dried flowers and just get your nose right in. And it smells phenomenal. I
Wow.
have actually have blue Egyptian blue lotus oil that I got from this little like botanical shop. I'm assuming it's the real thing, who knows, but whatever it is, it smells divine. It smells so good.
Huh.
So it did come to be associated with the afterlife, and the rebirth in Egyptian like lore, specifically the Osiris myth. So essentially, Osiris was brought back to life by his sister and wife Isis. And so it became the symbol of like rebirth and life after death and things like that. And so it was also considered to be a symbol of like royalty and rulers. And let's see, let me move this. King, I can never say that. Tutankhamun. Uh,
Tutankhamun.
yeah, his mummy was found like covered in dry blue lotus flowers when his
Hmm.
tomb was exhumed. And I found it said that actually a handful of um, like mummies were found covered in the blue lotus flowers. I couldn't really find any other names, but for sure him. So it was believed to be the fruit of the lotus tree eaten by the Lotofangi in Homer's Odyssey. I don't know Homer's Odyssey, and I was going to look this up, but I forgot to do it. But apparently, there is like a flower that is eaten in that, and it's rumored to be the blue lotus. Um, what else? Oh, circling back to Egyptian mythology, it's regarded as the symbol of the sun because it closes at night and opens again in the morning, just like some of the other flowers we've talked about. And then at Heliopolis, the origin of the word was taught to have been because of the sun god Ra, emerged from a lotus flower growing in primordial waters. And then at night, he believed that he would retreat into the flower again when the flower closes back up. So every morning, Ra, the sun god, was supposed to come out of the open flower, and then at night, when the flower closed back up, he would kind of come back in. Um, what else? Identified in some beliefs as having been the original container, like an egg of a tomb, and similar beliefs like Ra. So a tomb is another solar god, and he is also associated with that. It seems like a lot of um Egyptian deities associated with like the sun, it seems to be are like rooted in or somehow tied to the Egyptian blue lotus. Um, yeah, and oh, it's also associated with like the deity Nefertum. So yeah, again, more of like the sun gods or the solar gods. My wild squirrels are going crazy outside.
Hey, do you want us
Um,
like we've got like a minute left? Do you want to stop and then start the medicinal properties?
yeah,
Okay,
I
so
think
let's do
that
that.
yeah, let's do that. Okay.
Okay.